Hello, everybody. It is me, Posey, here, and I've got another rapid review for you. And this one's going to be about the movie Nimona, which is an animated movie that was produced by Netflix, but also largely created by Blue Sky Studios, which was shut down by Disney a couple years back. So I was pretty hyped for this movie. It looked pretty interesting. It's apparently based on a web comic or a book or of some sort written by N.D. Stevenson, and it's been translated into an animated movie. And I saw this yesterday on Netflix, and I gotta say, I was not disappointed. I was following the hype for this movie for a while, and it looked pretty good. I was expecting like a solid 8 out of 10, which is a pretty reasonable, kind of a reasonable score for a lot of movies like this. But no, like it actually was way better than I thought it was going to be, even though I already expected it to be good. And just saying it right now, to get it out of the way, I think this is straight up like a 10 out of 10 movie, like by my standards at least. I don't know if my standards are low. I mean, maybe it's more fair to give it like a 9 out of 10, but I don't care. This movie really blew me away. I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. And it's the best Spider-Verse, well, non-Spider-Verse animated movie of the year, for sure. Spider-Verse does trump it a little bit, but still, this is a fantastic movie, definitely worthy of a 10 out of 10 in my eyes. And I'm going to get into a little bit of why it deserves that position in my mind. It's really compelling. Its story isn't very complicated. It's pretty simple. But it's very well executed, very compelling. I find the characters to be pretty interesting and likable. There's obviously the main character, Nimona, who the movie is named after. And Nimona, well, she's kind of like, I don't really know if her origin was, I don't really know anything about her origin, but I believe she was like some shapeshifter sort of being who can become a variety of different forms, who can like become a variety of different animals. And like obviously her main form in the movie is the human form in the image that you're seeing on screen right now. But there's also a variety of different animal forms that she can kind of morph into, and that's like her main ability. And it's really cool and creative how it's animated, but it's also really compelling from a character point of view, from like a storytelling point of view, because this power is seen as very monstrous and abnormal by the people in the movie, in the kingdom that the movie takes place in. And it kind of leads to her being othered as this kind of monster. And without going into spoilers, obviously, there's a lot more behind that. But yeah, it's pretty compelling seeing her kind of like struggle to find her place in the society, but then realizing, oh, you know what? Maybe society is just not for me. Fuck it. I'm doing my own thing. Because just if they're gonna call me a monster, then I might as well live my best life and not care what they think. And that's kind of a large part of the movie. And she forms a bond with Ballister, who's also been cheated by society. He's basically framed for a murder, to say the least, which is pretty huge. And the basis for this is that they don't want him to be a knight because he's not directly related to like this old ancient hero named Glorith. So it's kind of like they're straight up just like they're straight up just like enforcing bloodlines like a hyper monarchy. And even though Ballister put in a ton of work to be a knight, he's not allowed to be a knight because because he's not directly related to this ancient hero, which is obviously stupid, and it leads to him being othered by society as well. And this movie is a lot about them bonding and kind of like finding a family in each other, because they definitely have like a bit of an adoptive father daughter dynamic going on, and I think it's pretty fun. I think they're both really fun characters. Definitely the voice acting helps, and the animation style, which is like really cartoony and just really nice to look at. It's very stylized. It's definitely not like super gritty and realistic, which I appreciate. Sometimes that works really well. I think the style they went with here for this movie worked in its favor. And it also, as I said, the voice acting definitely helps. I'm not really familiar with any of the actors in this movie besides Riz Ahmed, who plays Ballister, and I think he does a pretty good job. Definitely a fantastic choice for the role, and as do all of the other people in the cast. definitely Nimona's voice actress, who, I mean, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but does a fantastic job, as do the rest of the cast. Um, yeah. Beyond that, I also want to point out this movie is shockingly funny. Like, I expected it to have like a decent amount of gags and laughs, but no, like this movie was straight up balls to the wall hilarious in ways I did not see coming. Like, there's so much good slapstick, there's so many funny gags. Like, they just keep coming too. Like, I was very close. It's incredibly hard for a movie to make me laugh out loud. I just have a lot of restraint, but I was very close. Like, I was laughing internally for like most of the runtime of the movie, because the dialogue is really witty and all the exchanges. And I think, yeah, the dialogue's really witty and they've got like a bunch of good gags. I mean, they really did a good job making this movie genuinely funny. I didn't expect to get that much of a laugh out of everything, but yeah, that's definitely a good thing. Overall, yeah, pretty compelling stuff. Again, the characters are interesting. Their arcs are really good. Their relationships and their dynamics are really good. Obviously, there's an elephant in the room besides the one that Nimona can turn into. Obviously, that's an elephant, but the other elephant in the room is the fact that Ballister is in a relationship with another man whose name is Ambrosius, who's also a pretty important character. And yeah, I mean, like, they do not hold back. Like, that is like a big part of the movie. It's full-blown old men yaoi, except I guess it doesn't really count because they're not that old, but moderately aged men yaoi, regardless. And I think it's done pretty well, pretty tastefully, pretty respectfully. Obviously, I'm queer myself. I'm bi. And I thought it was pretty nice representation, and I believe it was super earnest and genuine, and I'm really glad it was in the movie, because, I mean, you don't really get to see stuff like this, and it was nice to have it. And obviously, you can argue that Nimona is like a trans or a gender fluid specifically sort of metaphor, and I'm totally down with that headcanon. It just makes a lot of sense, and I think it's a pretty powerful one for people of those identities. I'm also non-binary, so I can kind of see, yeah, I think it's a good metaphor, and it's a good headcanon to have. I'm not sure if it's like explicit, if it actually is true, but it's definitely valid, I think. And what else can I say about this movie? Well, there is a compelling mystery as well, and I think that's pretty cool. Because obviously, Ballister is framed for the crime of killing the queen. No major spoilers there. I think that was already in the trailers, so it doesn't really matter. But he's framed for the crime of killing the queen of the kingdom. And essentially, yeah, there's a big mystery as to who actually did it. And there are like 2 different plot twists in this movie, which is cool because the first plot twist I absolutely saw coming. Like, I predicted it way before it happened. I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That's probably true. This felt like the movie was building up to that. And then the second plot twist came, and I was like, oh, damn, I didn't think about that. That's actually really shocking. Okay, and I like when movies do that because they give you the illusion that you figured out everything already, and then they just throw more at your face, and it's like, damn, I did not think about this. Like, there's still more to consider. And another movie, one of my favorites, that does this is Knives Out, and does it multiple times, actually. Obviously, Knives Out is a bit more complex than this, but Nimona still does a pretty good job at throwing you off of the mystery and making you question everything, which is really cool. And it's a big part of the themes as well. And yeah, thematically, this movie really works. It's a lot about, obviously, like, there's kind of a metaphor for, I don't want to say racism. Obviously, it's not racism specifically, but definitely people being othered from society for being seen as abnormal. As I said, Nimona's considered a monster. Ballister is seen as illegitimate because of his bloodline not being related to that ancient hero, etc., etc. I mean, obviously, yeah, that's a big part of it. And the theme is kind of like how this sort of othering is bullshit. It shouldn't happen. We should be accepting of people's differences, and we shouldn't be treating them as monsters because of things they have no control over, because of immutable characteristics, or because of things that are really just, at the end of the day, strengths and can be used for good. And I think that's a really powerful message, and I think it's executed fantastically in this movie. So definitely a win in my books. I think I've been going on for a while. I totally recommend this movie. If you guys don't know, there's a bit of background with the production that I probably should mention. Originally, this was going to be done by Blue Sky, as in like Blue Sky was producing the movie. It was also its studio was animating it. Blue Sky, however, was shut down by Disney in I think 2021, and the movie was 75% done, and it was just fucking stopped. Like, they didn't do anything. Like, Disney straight up just abandoned the project when it was almost done. And and yeah, I mean, a lot of people a lot of people suspect that Disney might have had some homophobic motives behind that. I obviously don't know for sure. I'm not in their boardroom, but I mean, I get the suspicion, that's for sure. But regardless, for a long time, people who were really excited to see this movie come out, especially fans of the source material, which, just to be clear, I have not read, full disclosure. I came into this movie blind, still loved it, but anyway, yeah, I mean, a lot of people were sad because they thought this movie would never come out. But last year, Netflix picked it up again and decided to finish it. So Netflix is the studio that finished it, and it is an absolute miracle this movie got finished and released, because it is a fantastic movie, and I am glad that it was able to be finished. Because it really deserved to see the world, and people deserve to be able to see it. And I'm just so happy for everyone who worked on it, and Andy Stevenson for getting his work elevated to this level. I'm just super pleased that something this amazing came out, and that people get to celebrate it now, despite all these hurdles. And I hope that the same can happen to other movies that have been lost because of bad studio decisions. I think many movies deserve to be picked up and not left to rot. Even movies I don't particularly think are good. So let's hope that Nimona becomes like a shining example moving forward and influences more studios to pick up canceled or unfinished projects, as long as they're allowed to. And let's hope that they are allowed to. So yeah, moving forward, I hope this is a precedent that's set for the industry. The film industry is not doing super well at the moment, so if we have this precedent set, that could be a good turnaround point. But regardless, I think I've said everything I need to say about this movie. It's on Netflix. You can watch it right now. I strongly recommend. It is a very fantastic movie. One of the best animated movies I've seen. It is the best non-Spider-Verse animated movie I have seen since, I think, Mitchell's vs. the Machines. Except maybe Kung Fu Panda 2, but I don't really count that as a new movie because I rewatched it this year. But yeah, fantastic movie. Absolutely go see it. I'm ending this review now, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.